What's up guys, DuArktik with another Marvel Strike Force video, and in this video we're going to take a look at the ASTRAL team and see how you should build them up. We're going to talk about T4s, ISO 8, we can also go a little bit over the awakened abilities for some of these characters, which ones are going to matter, which are the best game modes and the best position for this team, and break down all the information that you need to know for you to build up this team. And hopefully in the future this will get a rework and they get a little bit better, because right now they are not super impressive. But once again, we're going to break down all the information that you need to know in order for you to start building this team, as the first new character is going to be released on next Friday, which is the ancient one, and it's going to be on the 6th of November if you are watching this in the future. So as always, if you like the information on these videos, make sure you share it with your friends on Facebook and Discord. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe for more Marvel Strike Force content, and make sure you smash that like button like a boss. Now, we usually have the Discord post, but this is going to be available for now on my Discord, because it's like the first impressions. And like I said, I highly expect a rework of these characters, as the team as a whole does not look very good, as you can see from the stats. We'll talk about this in another video where we'll break down all the game specific mods for this team. But right now the team is very limited in just Battle World and Alliance Wars if you get awakened abilities, which we already know from data mines that they are going to come through offers, so it might get expensive. Okay, we're gonna start breaking down all the T4s, then we'll talk about the ISO 8, finally the position of the team and the best game modes for each of these characters. We have a new color, we have blue, and blue is not going to be Crucible, it's not going to be Alliance Wars, it's going to be Raid, it's going to be Battle World. So the Battle World is going to be the new blue color of the infographics. Okay, let's get started, and we're going to start off with Doctor Strange. And Doctor Strange had a decent rework, it really affected this ISO 8 setup, and now the basic is very strong. If you're using Doctor Strange as a striker, which might be useful in Battle World, is going to steal health of the enemies, and this is a very good ability against null. You want to use those striker ISO 8s to remove health from the null boss. So it could be important that you do this T4 for Doctor Strange. It's not something that I would recommend right away for other game modes. For example, with the Secret Defenders, is still not a decent T4. So if you are done with this guy in regards to the other T4s, and you want to decide to use him with the Astral team, you could consider this one. But definitely more of an offensive ability rather than defensive ability. So if you put this guy on defense, do not do this T4, because it's not a good T4 on defense. Let's move on to the special, and on the special we are going to do more piercing damage. We are going to flip all positive effects into negative effects on the enemies. This is going from 90% up to 100, so not a lot of difference. But now what we have is that we are going to remove 5% of the enemy's max health in all targets. So once again, we have this nice mechanic against null. Maybe not super useful in other game modes, but in Battle World and specifically against null, it's going to be nice to have for sure. So if you are someone that feels like your alliance is not going to be able to participate on null, don't get these abilities. Then we have the ultimate. And if you do the T4 on the ultimate, we are going to revive 2 characters rather than just 1. And this can be good on the Astral team, it's going to be good on the Secret Defenders team. So this is definitely a nice T4 to have. Right now, Secret Defenders, they are having a lot of value on defense. So if you put this guy with the T4 on the ultimate, is definitely something useful. Then you have Battle World specific abilities, 3 ability energy for self. And then he applies counters, death proofs and deflects for Astral characters. This is great, don't get me wrong, this is great. The problem is that Battle World it's like raids, right? If you are doing these very specific T4s, and especially for this team that has bonuses on those specific game modes, you might actually not get a lot of value out of this T4. And the awakened abilities is just this, but also in Alliance Wars. So if you want to get this guy with this ability on Alliance Wars, you are forced to do this T4 no matter what. Finally, we have the passive for Doctor Strange, and this passive will grant him ability energy when an ally dies. Once again, with the Secret Defenders, this is very useful, as you'll be able to revive or Photon or Robbie Rays, so this ability comes very powerful. In terms of the Awaken ability, you're going to get Safeguard and Death Proofs plus 80% speed bar on the Summoned Wong, which is great. In Alliance Wars, getting this extra 50% speed bar is great because Wong is going to taunt right away and protect your team, so that's another reason to do this T4. So in terms of T4s for Doctor Strange, do the ultimate, do the passive, and then you can do the special or the basic if you are going to use this guy on offense. And once again, you are forced to use some of these T4s just because of the Awakened abilities. Let's move on to the next reworked character, which is Moondragon. Moondragon right now, she's very powerful. The rework that she had was very strong. If you do the T4 on the basic, you are going to get additional characters to assist. One of them will be Philavel, but if you do the T4, you also get an additional Astral character. If you limit the amount of Astral characters you have on your team, this is going to be a guaranteed assist. So for example, if you only have Emma Frost will always assist, and this can be very good in case you want to manipulate the odds of an Astral ally to assist or Philavel to assist, so keep that in mind. So this is definitely a very strong T4. And right now we are also using Moondragon as a striker in a few situations, so that's going to increase her damage even more. With the special, this is another must-have T4 because she's going to reduce the speed bar of the primary target by additional 20%, and because she applies slow, this is going to count for 50% more value, right? Because you are not only rewinding but also slowing, so that's going to decrease the speed by 50%. So you get 50% more value from your turn rewind. It's a little bit more than that, but just to make it simple. We have additional damage to primary target. We also have immunity to Astral allies. This is good because Moondragon can apply immunity to Astral allies, and then Emma Frost will apply immunity again. So you can keep immunity all the time by having characters doing immunity on different turns. So this is also a nice T4. Then we have the Ultimate T4. This is another decent T4 in Battle World. Outside of Battle World, it doesn't do much. Dealing is fine, but what really matters is this Disrupt. But if you do the T4, it only works in Battle World. If you get the Awaken ability, it also works in Water. I find it very limiting. It's up to you. I guess it's a nice T4 to have in Alliance Wars, but this is a turn 2 ability, so you do it very late in the match. Might not be useful enough to apply this Disrupt so late. And finally, we have the passive. In Battle World, when a character of the Astral team gets attacked, she's going to barrier the entire team by 5%. 5% is not a lot, so keep that in mind, but because you are facing so many enemies, then it might become relevant at some point. But it's not a huge deal. The Awaken ability also gives you barrier in Alliance Wars. Once again, I don't think this one is a good ability. So in terms of order, I would definitely do the special first. Then I would do the basic, and then the ultimate, finally the passive. The passive right now is very weak, so keep that in mind. Let's move on for the first new character, and it's probably the best character on the team, the Ancient One. This character is very strong. She provides energy to the team, she provides a ton of buffs and other mechanics, not only for herself but also for our allies, so she has a huge value. In terms of the basic, she's going to attack primary target and adjacent targets, plus piercing damage, plus bleeds. On crit, she's going to apply more bleeds to that target that got critted. So that's going to be a ton of damage, and that's going to be useful because every time you crit with her, she's going to give more energy to the team. So definitely very important. In terms of the special, she's going to give speed up for all allies in Battle World, but if you get the Awaken ability, or is this not Awaken ability? So this is Awaken ability, so you can give speed up for everyone in Alliance Wars and Battle World. So just for that alone, this is a very interesting T4 and Awaken ability. But if you just want to do the T4, you are giving more counters to your team from 1 up to 3, but we already have multiple characters that give counters, so keep that in mind. Some of the abilities will stack up, the other ones don't, but this is definitely the one that you want to do over the others. Then we have the ultimate, and the ultimate deals more damage, which is fine. It does not apply bleeds, but it will reduce the speed bar of the most injured enemy by 100%, up from 50. This is something that is very hard to control because it's a rebound chain, so you never know for sure which enemy will have the least amount of health or the most injured. So a lot of RNG on this ability, so make sure it's okay ability, but make sure you test it out and make sure you manage your expectations. It's just not going to be a good ability, and there is no awaken ability, so you can definitely skip this T4 on the Ancient One. Finally, we have the passive for the Ancient One. This is an absolute must-have T4 because you're going to generate ability energy whenever an Astral character crits. So it can be Ancient One or any other character, so keep that in mind. And if you do the Awaken ability, you're going to get Safeguard in Alliance Wars, enemies cannot spawn with Taunt, and you're also going to increase the duration of the positive effects on turn. So this could be very interesting. But once again, requires Awaken ability, definitely requires the T4, but the T4 is must have. So in terms of order for the Ancient One, do the absolutely must have the passive first, and then you can consider the special, then the basic, and finally the ultimate, because once again, make sure you know how the ultimate works so you don't get disappointed. Let's move on to Emma Frost. And Emma Frost, unfortunately, her kit is very, very garbage. So yeah, the basic skip, the special give this barrier for X-Men allies in Battle World, like skip. Very few situations where this is going to be useful, so keep that in mind. Single target damage as well, so nothing too crazy. The Awaken ability is barrier in Alliance Wars for X-Men and Astral. Like, this ability is absolutely useless. We already have the other characters giving barrier and other mechanics, so I'm not a big fan of this. Then we have the ultimate. The ultimate will steal health of the primary target. This can be quite useful and also applies immunity to Astral and X-Men. So this is definitely a decent T4. It's not amazing, but it's decent. And finally, you have the passive. Whenever this character or X-Men get Disrupt, clear that Disrupt and apply immunity. So this can be quite nice with X-Men characters. With Astral, not a big deal, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. But in terms of priority, you definitely want to use you definitely want to T4 the ultimate first, then the special, I guess, and then it's up to you. I would skip the passive and the basic. Once again, the only ones that really matter is the ultimate and the special. But once again, remember that it's only in Battle World and Alliance Wars if you buy the Awaken abilities. So yeah, it's not great. Finally, we have the Shadow King, supposedly the legendary character of this team, but he's quite lame, to be honest. On his basic, he applies blind to the primary target and mind controls the enemy. Now, the blind, it does not work with the Striker Eyes Await, so keep that in mind. Striker Eyes Await, no blind for this guy. So you are only going to do the T4 for the mind control. Is that good enough? I guess it's going to be a decent T4. Then we have the special. Apply trauma to the primary target, apply defense down for 2 turns, and in Battle World, and if you have the Awaken ability, in Alliance Wars, spread all negative effects from the primary target to adjacent targets. So once again, this is a nice T4. The trauma is nice, especially because you apply ability block, but ability block trauma is not as good as ability as stun and then trauma, so keep that in mind. It's a decent T4, but it's not super crazy. You're getting most of the value in Battle World, which is not great. Once again, we have the ultimate for the Shadow King, and with the ultimate you are doing more damage to all targets, but it's normal damage, so keep that in mind. It's not going to be like insane. And copy and clear all positive effects except taunt from all enemies to self. So this is a nice way to clear all the buffs from the enemies. The problem is that this is a turn to ability. Now Shadow King is going to get out of speed bar because of the possession, but still it's it's gonna take a while for him to clear all the positive effects from the enemies, so keep that in mind. And prolong the duration of all negative effects in Battle World. Once again, very restricted kit when it comes to these Battle World mechanics. Finally, we have the passive, and the passive is going to increase the damage from the possession by 100% piercing, so it's definitely a T4 that you want to do. And in Battle World, enemies cannot spawn with immunity, and this also affects Alliance Wars if you get the Awaken ability. So this one is definitely an interesting T4 that you want to do with Shadow King. So in terms of value, you want to do the special first, then you want to do the passive, then you can do the ultimate, and finally do the basic if you want, but I would rather skip. Okay, so that's in terms of the T4s for this team. In terms of isolate, because once again, the Ancient One is going to give us energy whenever someone on the team crits. You want to make sure that the fastest characters are raiders. So the fastest character is Shadow King at 125, and then you have the Ancient One at 122. That will allow your Emma Frost and your Moon Dragon to use their ultimates turn 1, and that's going to be great because their ultimates are very, very powerful. So that means you can use your Moon Dragon as a striker, that means you can use your Emma Frost as a skirmisher or something like that. Emma Frost, like I said, her kit is very garbage, so don't expect too much from her. And then we have Doctor Strange that can also be a striker because he's one of the last characters to go. So the rotation will be Shadow King, then the Ancient One, then Moon Dragon, then Doctor Strange. So that's why we have the two strikers, and finally Emma Frost. Or Emma Frost goes before Doctor Strange, but once again, we'll have a lot of vulnerabilities on the enemies, and that's why we have these two as strikers. In terms of Red Stars promotions, you should definitely put some diamonds on the Ancient One and also on Moon Dragon. In terms of Doctor Strange, it doesn't really need T4, it doesn't really need the diamonds, and this is mostly because only on very specific situations you can use him as an aggressive character, and that's why the more red stars you give to him is just to increase his survivability. So instead of that, you can just give him the Fortified Isolate and you are good to go. The same goes for Emma Frost. Her kit works with the stats of the enemies because of the mind controls, so it's better for you to keep her alive with Fortifier or with Healer Isolate than anything else. And the Skirmisher is just if you are using her on offense and you are trying to apply more vulnerabilities or to make sure that specific abilities will land against the enemies. And that's it. In terms of the best game modes for these characters, like, these characters are not good. This is probably the worst legendary team that we got in the last few years. And Moon Dragon, she's getting some decent value right now in Dark Dimension and Alliance Wars, especially if you pair it up with characters that give her additional energy. The same goes for Cosmic Crucible. You can pair up, for example, with Illuminati. Doctor Strange, very strong right now with Secret Defenders, and it can be somewhat useful in other game modes as well. Not with this team, but with other teams. Emma Frost right now is absolute dog shit. She's probably the worst character that has been released for all game modes. Even in Blitz, she's gonna struggle. She needs to pair up with other characters to boost her up. And Ancient One is gonna be, of course, one of the strongest characters in all game modes because she's the one that activates the abilities of other characters, and you probably should pair it up with Shadow King all the time. And then finally we have Shadow King, once again probably the worst legendary character that we got in a time, but like I said, we're gonna talk about that in another video because yeah, this team is not looking very good. So that's how you build the Astral team. Once again, this is a team that is made for a Battle World, but right now Battle World is not really a game mode that is very appealing, and you're going to be able to use them daily on Battle World, but like I said, I don't think this will be a team that will be fun to play just on that specific game mode. If Scopely doesn't unknot this team and gives them more options to be played elsewhere, I think this is going to be a massive flop. And in no way Shadow King compares to Old Man Logan, which is extremely disappointing. But this is what we have for now, and like I said, the new characters are going to start being released next Friday on the 6th of November. So I hope this information will be helpful to you throughout the time to build up this team. And that's going to be all for now, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you smash that like button. And if you found the video helpful, make sure you share it with your friends on Facebook and Discord. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe for more MSF content. And I'll catch you guys later.